up next is their crosstown arch rival in the USC Trojans. And Lincoln Riley has gotten progressively worse as USC's head coach over his tenure there. They start off hot in 2022 with an 11-3 record, and they had a Heisman Trophy winner in Caleb Williams. Even with Caleb Williams back in 2023, they went just 8-5, and then this past year they went 7-6 in their first year as a member of the Big Ten. Their normally elite offense looked a little stale in 2024. They're only 31st in EPA per play. That was actually the first time a Lincoln Riley coached offense was outside of the top 15 in EPA per play since he became Oklahoma's offensive coordinator in 2015. It has been a very long time since Lincoln Riley had not had a top 15 offense in the country, basically a decade until this past year. They could bounce back, though, in 2025, thanks to the return of an exciting quarterback in Jaden Mayava and Dalton, an impressive group of skill position players.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, that's Lincoln Riley's bread and butter, right? Is quarterback and weapons and high potent offenses, right? In the passing game, right? You're talking about guys like Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane on the outside who are really good football players. You're talking about Jaden Mayava, who's got a lot of starting experience and played reasonably well for him. He can really sling the ball downfield and work outside the pocket, right, when he's not turning the ball over. So I think the usual thing that makes any Lincoln Riley team a threat is a dangerous passing game. I think that's going to have to be the idea again here in 2025.
I am worried about the trenches for USC right now. And that's kind of been a theme with Lincoln Riley coach teams. Honestly, their passing game could have some issues next year if their offensive line does not have serious improvement, because last year the Trojans were 120th in pass blocking grade and 83rd in run blocking grade. They also only brought back 2 starting offensive linemen from last year, and both incoming transfers that are projected to start, and DJ Wingfield and Gianri Reed, had sub-70 PFF grades last year. Defensively, they were 90th in run defense grade, 89th in pass rush grade, and they only brought back 2 of the 7 front 7 defenders who played 300 snaps for them last year. So offensive line and defensive line, I have serious concerns with USC right now.
Agreed. I think actually for me it might be the O-line more so, because I think D'Anton Lynn actually did a decent job of at least somewhat improving this unit last year, because the year before 2023 they were just it was not good at all in 2023, and I think he at least made him look a bit more respectable last year. I think the D-line is still a concern. Now you lose Bear Alexander on the inside. He's gone to Oregon, and you just try to figure out, okay, who's the number one pass rusher here, I think, especially for USC, but the offensive line is more concerning to me. That part feels like it's eroded over the last couple of years, and you could see it in certain games. I think obviously everyone struggled to pass protect against Michigan, but there were certain games last year where it just felt like they were getting beat up badly in the trenches, both in the run and in pass protection in particular. It was rough. So I think if they can improve on the offensive line, they could have a really explosive offense, but they're going to have to get rid of the ball quickly, I think, against these. And that was a big question with all these teams that came over from the Pac-12. Which of you are going to be able to keep up in the trenches, right? Oregon was able to do it, but you look at USC and you get the next team in Washington that we're going to go over too. Those are the 2 teams that really struggled on the O-line. You can't struggle in the trenches in the Big Ten, not against all these cold weather teams.
Tell me more about the quarterback, Jaden Mayava, who took over for Miller Moss, who was benched last year. And you and I were both big fans of Miller Moss, but Jaden Mayava came in. And he actually looked pretty impressive, honestly, when he came in.
He did. He's a gunslinger. He's going to take his chances. He's going to take his chances downfield into tight windows. You saw against Notre Dame, especially at a really high grade, even despite throwing 2 pick sixes in the fourth quarter, because I believe he made 6 big-time throws in that game, and 19% of his passes last year were deep balls beyond 20 yards. He did it at UNLV. He did it last year in a handful of starts at USC. He's going to absolutely let it fly. 5% big-time throw rate over the last 2 seasons. It's in a similar spot as like Shedeur Sanders, Tyler Shuck. Like, he can make the throws, especially deep downfield. The question is going to be, can he reel it in a little bit? Because over the last 2 years, 5.4% turnover-worthy play rate. That is the highest of any passer with at least 500 dropbacks in the last 2 years.
Wow.
So you're talking about, when I say gunslinger, Jaden Mayava is absolutely it, and he has to reel it in, right? And this offense is designed to not turn the football over. There's a lot of safe throws in it, screens, RPOs, things like that. But he's got to understand, look, ball security is everything. Max, he's made 15 starts in his career. He's got multiple turnover-worthy plays in 11 of them.
Wow.
You just can't have it, right? So, I mean, look, he can do a lot of the high-end things, right? When you watch him play, he had the best performance other than Will Howard in the title game. He had the best performance of any quarterback against Notre Dame last season, right, in that great coverage unit. The high end is in there. The low end is also certainly in there. He's a bit of a roller coaster.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of superstar quarterbacks with Lincoln Riley who, of course, are, sometimes big game hunters like Caleb Williams there, Baker Mayfield, Kyler Murray. Jalen Hurts was a great quarterback for Lincoln Riley, too. So he's got a lot of great quarterbacks in his career at Oklahoma and multiple number one overall picks. In fact, 3 of them number one overall picks and multiple Heisman Trophy winners, 3 Heisman Trophy winners, and Jalen Hurts won a Super Bowl this past year. So, yeah, a lot of great quarterbacks with Lincoln Riley, and Jayden Maiava hopes to be joining that list very soon. Offensive player spotlight guy who helped out a lot for Jayden Maiava is Makai Lemon, who was really efficient in his sophomore year for the Trojans. Averaged over 3 yards per route run, 3rd among all returning receivers in the Power 4. The only 2 who had more were Jeremiah Smith and Jordan Tyson, who are 2 of the 3 best receivers in the country, in our opinion. Lemon is also the 2nd most valuable returning receiver in college football, according to PFF's wins above average metric. He had kind of a slow start to the season, but really turned it on down the stretch. He had the 11th most receiving yards in the country from week 7 on, with 682 in that stretch. And right now, Dalton, he's the number 1 wide receiver prospect in the 2026 NFL draft, according to our lead draft analyst, Trevor Sikkema, too. So we could be talking about a potential first-round receiver in the NFL draft, too.
It's a good guy to have as a fan right there, huh?
Yeah.
You get Trevor Sikkema in your corner, then you start talking right there. But, I mean, it's the – you know what it is? It's the usual super productive slot receiver that Lincoln Riley always has, right? You think about CeeDee Lamb, Jordan Addison.
Yep.
Taj Washington the year before, and now you've got Makai Lemon. He's going to be the focal point. I know there's some people out there that absolutely love Jacoby Lane too, right? And he's super talented as well. But Makai Lemon is going to be the focal point from the slot who gets the highest volume of targets. So look, it's a dangerous receiving core. Again, it's always going to be a dangerous passing game with Lincoln Riley and this team. Lemon's really good. He's a darn smooth route runner, isn't he? I mean, you talk about a separator, especially over the middle of the field. He's going to have a big time year as long as, again, if they can pass protect and the chain of command there works from O-line to quarterback to receiver at that point, then you're talking about, okay, yeah, Lemon's in for a big year.
Big fan of him, and also a big fan of defensive back safety Kamari Ramsey, too.
Absolutely. One of the players that came over with D'Anton Lynn, the defensive coordinator from UCLA, and really I would say the key player to that effort, right? And you talk about an 88.1 coverage grade last year, 12th best among all safeties. He was really good at UCLA as a two-way player. Had a little bit of a drop-off in run defense last year. Again, that could improve a little bit. I think more so than a lack of aggression. There's just sometimes takes a funny angle to the ball in run defense. He can take some weird angles, but Kamari Ramsey's really good. He's another guy who's an NFL prospect. I think D'Anton Lynn, he's really built this defense. They got a really good transfer corner in DJ Harvey as well from San Jose State. They're building this defense, I think, from the back end in. So we do have questions in the trenches, but on both sides of the ball, on the perimeter especially, and even Kamari Ramsey at safety, obviously, got really good athletes on this team. And that's really one of the big advantages is that USC is going to be one of the most athletic teams in the Big Ten. Just a matter of if the trenches can catch up to that.
Definitely. All right, Dalton, the bottom line for this team is the win total set at 7.5 right now. What's the bottom line for USC, and will they go over or under 7.5?
I want to say they're going to go over. I know they've disappointed the last couple of years because it was 7 wins the year before, and then they went 6-6 last year. But I want to say they can go over. The defense, I think, could take another step. Lynn's a really darn good coach.
Yes.
Because even, it might not show in a lot of the numbers. They were still below average. But the defense was a pretty solid step better than it was in 2023.
Oh, much better.
Yeah, and if they take another step towards closer, let's say they go from, 80th or 90th in grading to maybe in the top 60, that's another solid step. This offense, as long as Maiava doesn't turn the ball over and put the ball in danger too much, this should still be solid. I think if they don't get to 8 wins, there's going to be a lot of noise out there in LA. Mm-hmm. I'm going to take them. I think they could get into that 8-9 win range. They've got some tough games. Obviously the Notre Dame game is a thing, and that's at Notre Dame this year. But I think there's a good amount of winnable games on here. I think 8-4 needs to be. That's a realistic goal for USC, and if they don't hit that, we might be talking about him a lot towards the end of the season for all the wrong reasons.
I know Lincoln Riley's contract makes it pretty hard for him to be like, I know there's a lot of money in that program too, but I think he's going to be there for a long term. But yeah, there's going to be some noise if they don't go away.
And I believe they've had a lot of big recruiting wins lately.
A lot.
So
they've been recruiting really well.
I mean, maybe there's more of a long-term vision here, but I do think it would really help. After a 7-5 with Caleb Williams and a 6-6 last year, it would really help them to have a better season. But I think they can hit that 8-win mark.
I think, yeah, they have the quarterback, the skill position players, and the secondary of a bounce-back year. Just got to get better in the trenches, offensive line and defensive line. But I think Jaden Mayav is going to take a next step as a quarterback in his first really real year as a starter for Lincoln Riley. So I'm excited to see what he can do. I'll take the over, too, for them on 7.5.